Welcome to the Beauty Business Strategies Podcast, where we give salon, spa, and med spa owners quick tips to make more money, inspire your team, and create world-class client experiences.
Welcome, everybody, to the Strategies Podcast. Again, my name is Michael Yost, your host for today's podcast. Once again, every time we do this, we try to bring you great insight from different personalities and different people within our industry. And we are joined today by two great individuals that I know we're going to have a great time speaking with. And we're going to be speaking today with Brock Goldberg and Robert Reed. How are you guys?
We're terrific.
Amazing.
Terrific.
Thank you for
Awesome.
asking.
So before we get into it, let's get some of the formality out of the way. Love to have you guys just give yourself a real introduction about, again, maybe about your roles and your company. And so whoever wants to start, go right ahead.
Well, I'm oldest, so I'll start.
Let's go.
Right. It's been my pleasure to be part of the professional salon industry since 1973. Yeah, that's a long time. My focus has been on serving hairdressers and salon owners with professional tools for the last 40 of those years, and it's a pleasure doing so. Being a hairdresser is a fantastic profession, but it does take a toll on one emotionally and physically, and that's why I formed Ergo Research in 1994.
Wow, that's incredible. You definitely have me beat on time. But my name is Brock Goldberg. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Ergo Styling Tools. I've been in the industry for 10 years. I worked behind the chair as well for 8 of those 10 years. And it's been the most incredible journey of my entire life. Hairdressing, hairdressers, Robert, this entire world of ours has changed my life. And it's just a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, man, our pleasure. Our pleasure. Always love talking with those in our industry that have unique insight into our industry. And so, again, that's the reason why I wanted you guys to be a part of today's podcast, because as we've talked offline and as we are working together in different areas, you know, the cool thing was it's like all the insight that you guys can share. I'm like, man, you know, our industry and people out there would be interested in some of these conversations. So let's podcast this thing. So with that in mind, let's get started. All right, let's get started. And so, you know, the first question I want to start out with is, and I love asking this question, especially as I talk with people that are, you know, what I would call industry leaders, you know, in our world, that have a little different perspective, you know, not necessarily from an owner standpoint, but just a perspective of our industry, because you know, from an Ergo standpoint, Robert, and what you've done, and Brock, what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, you see our industry from a little different perspective, a little different point of view as you work with different companies and you see different things. So the question is this: what do you think, and we'll talk about this over maybe the last, like the lens of the last couple years, right? What do you think has been some of the greatest change and shift in our industry over the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years from an industry perspective?
Well, I think one of the changes that we've certainly seen is seems to be a feeling of me rather than we. I got into this industry because of the excitement of those around me. And, you know, in those days, I think still continuing today, there's some people so passionate about being around others and sharing what inspires them, whether it's an approach to their business or an approach to their craft. But with the increase in independent contractors, you know, that type of energy and passion seems to be on the wane. So here at Ergo, we think that, you know, some things have not changed, and that is hairdressers tend to be underserved and underinspired when it comes to their tools and education. And our purpose is to serve those people who are looking for inspiration and a way to improve what they do every day and feel better at the end of each day.
Yeah, definitely. And just to piggyback off that a little bit, I do believe that social media has driven a lot of this change, right? For so long, the hair industry was, you know, built with events and people networking and collaborating in person. But through the advent, the creation of social media, I think that's definitely changed. And we're going to see this continue to move down the path as years come and go.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, social media has played a huge part in the shift over these last few years for sure. And Robert, I think it was interesting, how you brought up, I want to stay on this topic for just a second then. You brought up that idea of of maybe a lot more we, a lot less, or a lot more me, a lot less of the we. So, again, it's strategies, as we all know. If you're listening in on this podcast, we're a we kind of a company, right? We like to build teams, and we think teams are really, really important. Talk to me though about, because I think that you said something though that is so important, regardless of what your business model is when it comes to whether we're team or we feel we're more solo, or whoever happens to be listening in, because I think a lot of people still say to themselves, well, I feel like I'm part of I still feel like we're a team. Do you feel like you see a lot of me even within teams? And if you do, um, what's that looking like to you as you guys see it from your perspective? Or do you not agree with that? Do you think it's something, do you see it differently?
Well, I think that considering me or what's good for me is always, top of mind for someone. But when they're within a group of like-minded thinkers, I think that that really stimulates what they think about what they do for themselves as well as how it impacts, those around them. So I think that still thinking about me is appropriate, but considering the we around you uh, really allows you to pull the energy, the thoughts, again, maybe a technique or an inspiration from those that are around you. I remember when I first got into the industry, going to a hair show from the hours of 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, the day didn't end then. People went back to their hotel rooms and started to collaborate on haircuts, and they were cutting hair in the shower and putting on hair color in the bedrooms of the hotels. That type of excitement really carries forward with a lot of great energy and change over the ensuing days, weeks, and months.
Yeah, absolutely. I even remember when I first got into the industry 10 years ago, there was definitely a different feeling back then. And then with, the creation, like I said before, of social media, and it's just kind of driving this new way of thinking, we do see that a little bit less. But I do believe that, great teams have great leaders and a great culture. And when you have that, it's that group mentality that can really push the ball forward, growing not as an individual, but growing as the team.
I love, the idea, Robert, of what you were sharing, and Brock, what you even just were picking up on, the idea of more collaboration, the idea of creating an atmosphere that likes it. And Robert, I think you really framed up that me to we in a really great way, from the standpoint of, yeah, it's naturally to think about me we're because I need to think about myself. There's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with that, as long as you're also, and I think the way you phrased it was so perfect. But again, considering the we, those around us, that's what makes. I think in the end, that's what makes for a great team, and that's what makes for that idea of collaboration. Let me spin off of that word collaboration. All right, let me spin off of that, and so if we were to say, if collaboration were a recipe, right? So again, the idea of a recipe is, we know it has multiple ingredients in it to make a better outcome, to make something, greater than one ingredient on its own. So if collaboration were that outcome that we want to see, and we needed to put a recipe together for that, there always seems to be one key ingredient in every recipe that makes the difference, right? That's that one key ingredient. You don't want to leave that one out, because if you do, this isn't going to go anywhere. If we had to use collaboration as our outcome, and we were looking for a key ingredient, what do you think that key ingredient is? And again, love to hear both of your insights into this, because you might have different answers on this one, the way you view it. But what would you think the key ingredient is when it comes to collaboration?
I think top of mind for me, it's a belief. What is it you believe in? And that's based upon what you've been exposed to, what you've attempted, what you've achieved. But you have to add some belief in there because you start with a belief system and then you look for other ways to see how you see what you see. So I think belief is a very important ingredient.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Robert. I think that's single-handedly probably the most important ingredient, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. If you do not believe in what you're doing, especially as human beings, life is hard. It's not easy every single day, and so to be able to truly believe in something and then have two people believe in something, that collaboration is going to go a lot farther.
I love it. So, if belief is, if belief is that key ingredient, and like you said, like you were saying, Brock, if I can get someone else into that same mindset, we're in a like-mindedness in a way, that really starts to build, that momentum, for a lot of teams out there. Um, Picking up with this kind of the same idea, staying within the same recipe idea. What do you think? So if belief is that core, and we start to get team going, and you start to build a little bit of momentum. What do you think some of the key components are that keep momentum moving forward? And even Robert, as you referenced, going back in your time in this industry, it was like, hey, this is what were the key things that kept that motivation going, and what are the things that you think keep people motivated? Because I think, and here's the reason I asked the question, is this, and you probably see it a lot as you work. I know how you guys work with multiple companies in different ways, so you get exposed like we do here at Strategies to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different companies, and you see a lot of different things, right? So I think a lot of people out there are probably going, how do we create stronger teams? And if we can get this motivation going, I think a lot of times it's how do you keep that moving? So if we had to look at motivation, really fostering that, what do you see some of the key components to keep people motivated? And what do you see as people that win at that, maybe in this industry or maybe even outside of this industry, that you might bring in to the conversation?
I'd say discovery. If you're amongst a group of people and you have a belief system, and by the way, sometimes those belief systems are based upon old thinking, not where you're at currently. Then you ask people, to share what they're feeling about it, because this allows you to further understand another perspective. Other perspectives are great. They may have a positive influence on you. You have to be careful of those negative ones. But understanding how the other person sees something, feels about something, uh, allows you to have some further conversation about your beliefs in common.
And to piggyback off that, I think another one would be open-minded. Being open-minded, a lot of times we get so stuck to our core beliefs that even if they're wrong and it's right in your face, you're still like, nah, no, I'm just going to continue to do this. But by being open-minded and hearing different ideas and being uh, more prone to new things that are thrown at you and not so stuck in this one way, I believe collaboration goes a lot farther.
That's awesome. So, the idea of exploring and staying, I think this is really key for the listener out there right now is, tapping into that idea of how do we stay open minded? How do we keep that? I love the word discovery, that constant search for discovery, and whether that's discovery in learning something new, or maybe it's a new technique or a new approach, or just any component like that. But just the idea of discovery, new knowledge, and again, staying open minded, I think those are, it's funny. I ask the question a lot to a lot of people around team, and I think that, I think those are actually two really great answers that, I hadn't heard before or thought about before, but I think are very, very important as I'm just processing now in the real time of this, as I sit here as the listener in the same way, kind of hearing that for the first time and going, yeah, there's something that's really something there that really is cool. So to keep moving this forward and hopefully continue the conversation and the thinking a little bit forward. So we're talking about discovery, we're talking about open mind, we're talking about considering those around you, and the idea of team and the importance of belief and things of that nature. So again, so you're sitting across the table from a business owner, right? And just having a dialogue with them. And so as you do that, what's the one thing that you want to really be able to share with them? So again, you're sitting across, you got a great business owner on the other side of the table from you. What's the one thing that you want to share with that person?
What's interesting that in what we do, which is to make people feel more beautiful by making them appear more beautiful, make them feel better inside, almost everyone I've ever met, whether it's a rock star or a politician, they always have an interest in what we do, in the beauty industry. So I would love to share my enthusiasm for something as simple as a hairbrush because people haven't really experienced when and how to use such a simple tool real simply. And almost everyone has a hair story. So, you know, even if it's a politician or a rock star, they all have a hair story. I'd like to know that story because there may be something in my background in what we offer here at Ergo that can make them feel better about themselves and feel more beautiful every day.
Yeah, right. And Robert's really good at that. I see like anytime he's speaking with a new business owner, it doesn't matter who it is, he always tries to find some similarities. And I think anytime starting a conversation, it's not should always be about you, but find out more about them and understand where you guys can, see those similarities and then really piggyback off of that and then try to get your ideas across.
I like it. So Robert, I'm gonna flip the question, and I think it builds perfectly. And Brock, you actually just basically did it for me. I just need to get out of the way on this whole podcast thing right now. Um, so, what's the one thing that you hope, if you're again sitting at that same table? What's the one thing then that you hope that they share with you? And so I think Robert, you framed it up so well in what you guys just said and what you shared as well, Brock, is you know that interest in others and connecting with them in that way. So, what's the one thing, Robert, that you hope that they share back with you that you can continue to build off of?
I would like to know how they inspire their team, how they get the most out of their team, how they help each team member rise up to their um, highest level of performance, highest level of thinking, how they get their team to think outside of office hours, normal office hours, how they, just pull the most uh, creative thoughts out of their team about how to better their business because no one knows better how to build their business than their own team members.
Absolutely. Understanding what their magic recipe is, and have them share that with us. It's a really good answer, Robert.
So, if we're diving this idea of, I think there's a real theme coming up here about this concept of the more we start to keep open to others, the more we start that discovery of others, the more that helps to benefit everyone that's involved in that conversation. Whether we're looking to build a stronger team, where they're talking about, I own a business right now and I'm looking to strengthen my team. The idea of being open and the idea of discovery, as you're talking about here, we're going to help that. The idea of a relationship with a customer in the same exact format, it's going to help there. All these things tie together. So I want to tap into a little bit of what I know you guys do on a regular basis from an Ergo standpoint, and how you help businesses and how you interact directly with businesses. Because I think it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about, like, okay, as you go into companies, give us just a little bit, like 2 to 3 minutes, just quickly to set the table, because I want to take the conversation just a little different direction, but building off of what we talked about. So give us like 2 3 minutes just on when you go in and you start working with a company. What do you guys primarily do?
I asked the salon owner or the leader, what is it you'd like to see in your business 6 months from now in relation to Ergo? I think this is a really broad question. Uh, but almost always it comes with a conclusion in the response of we'd like to have all of our team thinking the same way, using the same tools, communicating the same way. And this allows us a starting point really to pull what we have in our resources to support that salon owner to achieve those objectives. And 6 months is not too far to look out for a big rosy picture, but it does allow you to start working backwards from the end result of success and determining all the steps necessary to get there.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. Being able to paint that picture, and one thing that Robert has taught me is being able to work backwards. A lot of times we always work forwards, and that's what I did my whole life. But being able to look at that picture and go, okay, I'm going to start here and then get back. So if you start at that 6 months, how do we get to that first month? And that's something that Robert does really well.
Yeah, I think that's, something that's so important that a lot of people don't attach to is, you know, and I'll speak from a strategy standpoint, a lot of similarity here. It's like, hey, we need to see where we're going. We need to set in a sense, we could say we need to set a goal out there. And that's what you're saying. Hey, in 6 months, what's the goal? What's the objective? Right. And now then backing up and like, all right, what's our plan going to be to get there? And I think, again, that's something that everyone that's listening here really needs to attach to is the fact that, you know, you need to really make sure that you're setting goals out there. So let me ask you this, just in your experience, do you find that people set goals, even again in your relationship? You could say, um, you know, do you feel people set goals that are too narrow, too small, or do you think people set goals that are sometimes when a goal goes bad, do you think it's either too narrow and too small and doesn't push enough, or do you think it's just the opposite? It's too wide, too big, or do you find that most people set what you think are good, realistic, on point goals? I'm just kind of intrigued by your thought on, when you put that question out there to people, you know, when it comes back to you, do you think they're like said, where do you think it's right on, or where do you think things people miss?
I think a lot of times, most times, people have aspirations. I would like this, I would like that. Um, but they don't really have a day to day strategy for achieving those goals. I think, once again, thinking archaically about the way it used to be in the industry, when a hairdresser would leave uh, the salon on that day, they'd take a look at tomorrow's book. Who's on the schedule, and they would think about what am I going to speak with Mrs. Jones about? Where am I going to take her? What are some of the key discussion points? And they'd make a quick note in that schedule or on their own. But today, I don't think that something as simple as planning for tomorrow is on the top of mind of most people. I know when I leave my office each day, I'm always taking a look as a reminder what my schedule is like the next day, going through my preparation, every call that I have. I make notes for it so that we just don't have random conversations. They can be free flowing, but I know that I need to cover some of my target points. So those are, I have goals every day for conversations, goals for reaching out to new customers, goals for building business, and I've got a lot of just to dos for my day. So I think that we have a lot of aspirations. We'd like things to happen, but sometimes we don't have the pointed daily preparation for them.
I also think, right, a lot of times what people can do, especially when it comes to goals, is they, in their head, on paper, however it is, they make them so large. And I used to do this myself. I'd have a goal and or just like a plan, an objective, right? And I'd make everything so large and it'd have to be so perfect. And then someone came up to me one day and told me this silly little thing. It's called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right? And once I started really looking at the things that I'm doing in my own life, and really breaking them down and simplifying them, my own personal goals were a lot more achievable. And there's something else that Robert once told me, and I guess I'll bring it up right now. It's called the 6 Ps, and it's prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And that's ingrained in my head. And so anytime I have a goal, anytime I have an objective, I think of these core things. And I believe if more people did stuff like that and the things that Robert just shared, goals would be a lot more achievable through your day-to-day life, small goals and large goals.
I think that's awesome. The KISS principle, the 6 Ps. I think those are great reference points. And to Robert, to what you said, I love the fact, you know, again, this is why I love having these conversations because of bringing out the fact that a lot of people have the right aspiration, but again, aspirations are one thing. It's the what am I going to do to get there? And Robert, you talked about that. Where's in a sense, I'll kind of sum it up into a couple things that you said. It's like there's a definitive intent then as you looked at your next day, as you looked at the week ahead. There's a definitive intent to that, not just I'm not just hoping, because again, I'm crossing my fingers right now in this idea of I hope that it works out. I aspire to be this. But if I don't have an intent about it, it's going to be really hard to achieve those objectives that I set out there. And in Brock, that's where I love what you just, what you shared ties in so well with the KISS principle and with the 6 Ps. It's like, listen, it's the planning, prior planning. That's what we need to focus on. It's the intention, and I'm glad you guys shared that because I think it is something that's so important to us. I'm going to actually, I'm going to spin into this, into this next question from this standpoint, which is kind of taking and saying, all right, so if maybe one of the things that we don't do well as an industry is really plan all that well, we aspire to have great things, we set out goals out there, and sometimes even a little bit, lofty goals are one thing, but again, if we don't have anything goes behind it, that's a whole other deal. Nothing wrong with a great dream, but we need to put some action to that. What do you think our industry right now distracts itself with that you're like, you kind of knock your head against the wall in a way, or just kind of, hit yourself on the head a little bit going, why is our industry wasting time in this area when it should be focused on? Where do you think our industry right now is distracted by? What's our industry distracted with that maybe you're going, we just shouldn't be distracted by that stuff right now. Get focused on this.
Oh, that's another big question, but let's speak about, the elephant in the room, which is Amazon. There are many levels of our industry, whether it's an independent contractor, a stylist that's working, in a salon that pays commission, or even a team-based pay salon, that sometimes they think they can't overcome the next day prime delivery for Amazon, which often is offered at the same or competitive pricing available in the salon. There's nothing greater as a challenge for a salon owner or leader than to ensure a consistent, excellent outcome with each guest visit. That is the assembly of many disciplines in a specific sequence of action. And for the most successful outcome, the most excellent outcome, someone needs to be delivering education to someone else. And that's normally the stylist to their guest. With technology as it is today, and I've seen salons that print out the schedule for each of their stylists each day, including a recap of that customer's past visits, their past services, their past purchases. One thing that's left out that I think could go in there is a list of topics to discuss with that guest each visit. Just open-ended questions can begin to stimulate the conversation between a stylist and a guest. And having these in black and white for a stylist or service provider to follow, whether they're a stylist or a brow technician or nail technician, gives the salon owner a little bit of a heads up to ensure that the conversation is going to go through these sequential bits of information. So I think that what's missing is some consistency in what's going to happen during that visit.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Robert on that. And then one other thing that I have near and dear to my heart is I do think that a lot of hairdressers, especially younger hairdressers, we get so caught up with in the social media age, and everything is instant It has to be right now, and just kind of living in the moment. But at the end of the day, all of us are getting older every single day, and a lot of us are not saving for the future. Whatever that looks like, retirement funds, 401k, Roth IRA, any of those things to be able to build on. So there is going to come a day where your body does not work as good as it does today. So when you are 60, 70 years old, you are set up for the future. And this is something that I truly believe near and dear to my heart, that we're not teaching a lot of these younger hairdressers, saying, hey, today's awesome, but what about tomorrow?
I think, it's such a great point, with that, again, with everything you guys are sharing. And, Brock, with what you just shared there, I think that it's such a big piece that we do ignore as an industry, is not trying to, and this doesn't mean, I think one of the reasons why we tend to ignore it is because I think a lot of people, and when I say people, I guess let me rephrase that. I think a lot of potentially business owners believe that, well, I'm not in a position to be able to help out with that, so therefore I don't want to talk about it, or I can't help out, so it's not something that's relevant to me. And the simple fact is, and that we've actually had some conversations in past education that we've done here at Strategies and things, bringing in some financial planners and things that have all made it very clear to what you're saying, Brock. The fact of the matter is, there are things that it's not dependent on. Listen, if you work with a company that can help you and assist you with that, that's fantastic. But it's not dependent on that. So again, if you're a business owner listening to this, and I'm going to pick up Brock's passion on this one, if you're a business owner listening into this, it's not only all on your shoulders. All that needs to be on your shoulders is helping people get connected with the right people that can help them out. Because it's amazing what, as we talked about, we did this start with one in particular. We did the Starbucks cup of coffee, right? And like, hey, listen, nothing wrong with Starbucks coffee. We all enjoy a good coffee, but imagine if I took that cup of coffee and I contributed that amount to my future, what that can look like. And it can start to really, really, really add up to something for your future. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And again, Robert, I loved your insight too into just what we're looking at. And just again, I think a big thing that we get distracted by is, I love the fact that you brought up just this idea of Amazon. Not so much, again, Amazon is out there, but your point that I love that you really drove is, it's more about what are we doing with the experience that people are giving. You know what I mean? If we can't provide an in-person better experience than someone can have through an online portal, we got bigger things. Like, so we're distracted by things we shouldn't be distracted by. We need to get focused on what our in-person experience can be, that just elevates, because that's what our industry is. I love what our industry is, and I think so. This has been fantastic. This has been a great conversation. This has been a great conversation. As we wrap this up, you know, what I'd like to do is this. This has been a great conversation. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going, man, you know what? I really like what Brock had to share. I really like what Robert had to share. If they want to find out more, if they want to connect with you on some different ways, because again, I know Ergo does some great in-person, hands-on work directly with you when it comes to our industry on a day-to-day basis. What's the best way to connect with you guys? And give us just a little bit about what you just do and how you help our industry, just on from your perspective, from an Ergo perspective.
Well, while we have for over a quarter of a century been very much a face-to-face company, attending trade shows, we've visited tens of thousands of salons, to observe what hairdressers do at salon, have conversations with salon owners about what they would like to see, that 6 month aerial view of their business. We're still uh, in the midst of visiting more. I should say that we've begun to travel again, which is really exciting because I really love that so much. But we're really easy to reach through our social media, whether it's Instagram at Ergo Styling Tools, or whether it is through Facebook, Ergo Styling Tools, or simply is sending an email uh, inquiring about some more information at info at Ergo Styling Tools. We're very responsive. We exist to serve hairdressers and salon owners to allow their work to be easier, faster, deliver longer lasting results. We're excited about that. There's a lot that encompasses that, including our in salon hands on education. Everyone wants to be a better finisher. The art of the blow dry helps deliver on that promise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to reach out, you have any questions, you can reach out to us on info@ergostylingtools.com. You can check out our website, www.ergostylingtools.com. We're constantly posting on Instagram, like Robert just said, and we're just really excited to be back. This has been a fantastic experience.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. And again, for all those listening, as you can tell, Brock and Robert, really a heart and a passion for our industry that extends, well beyond just, again, the awesome tools that they have. Again, check those out. But at the same time, you get a real sense of who they are as people. And again, if this is someone and you're hearing things that really align with what's important and passionate to you, check them out. Dive in more. We'd love to be able to keep supporting, again, great people in our industry that are helping us advance this, our industry as a whole. So again, Brock and Robert, one last time, thank you guys so much. We appreciate your time. We'll definitely have to do a follow-up here again, because again, a lot more questions on my list that I would love to run by you guys, and I love your insights. But with that in mind, our time is at the end. Thank you all for those that have listened in. We appreciate your time that you've given to us, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again for listening to the Beauty Business Strategies podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to hit follow, and please share the episode link with anyone who you think could benefit from today's content. To learn more about how strategies can help create more fun, profit, and growth potential for you, your company, and your team, we invite you to schedule a free 60-minute strategy session by clicking the direct link in the description of this episode. There you'll also find links to our wide array of coaching, seminar, and learning opportunities, all of which can be found at strategies.com.